Okay, levels are set. Recording. Oh, hey Nancy. Hey, about last week, I didn't mean, you have to. Wait, what do you do? Wait, I can explain.
Well, that'll show you to shoot me with tranquilizer darts.
Help!
Hi, I'm Donald Trump, and I took a rip. Wait, one second. I gotta put my hands up here. That one's the L. Okay, I took a left at the valley.
I know we shouldn't have to scream that we're atheists. We don't have non-astrologers and all that. But with the religious people taking over the world, we can either speak up or be pushed into a corner.
I'm proud to be an atheist, a skeptic, a non-believer, an infidel, a heathen. I call it how I see it. I say it's ignorance and you just call it faith in unsubstantiated claims. That's something to be ashamed. I'm an atheist.
Coming at you from the intensive care unit. This is Left of the Valley. My name is Kevin, and it's hard to talk with gauze in your mouth. Joining me as usual is a team whose loyalty to the host has come into question. Yeah, we really talk about that, guys. Well, she kicked my ass. I mean, she had a solid alibi as to where she was during my attack, Nancy.
I have 3 alibis. You can pick whatever one you want.
And when she found my carcass, her first reaction was to take my wallet. Kirsten.
Hey, I have animals to feed.
Ladies, welcome back.
Oh, we're so glad to be here.
It's finally raining.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, fall came overnight, didn't it?
Yeah.
Give it another day, it'll be summer again.
I hope.
Hope you guys had a great week.
It was a long week.
Yeah. It was. But that's okay. So today we'll be talking to a YouTuber that goes by the moniker of Godless Cranium. So that's going to be very interesting. But first, let's do a little bit of chit-chat, because we got lots of things to go through. You know how we've been following the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia thing?
Yep.
Well, the Foreign Affairs Minister, Chrystia Freeland, is voicing some concern about another female civil rights activist jailed in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Her name is Isra al-Ghukam. I hope I said that right. And 5 others are facing the death penalty.
Oh, gosh.
Yikes.
Yeah, last year in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, that bastion of freedom, and how the very civil country executed 146 people. These women are accused of inciting protest.
Oh, gosh.
And, of course, no violent behavior, but apparently that's enough to condemn them to death.
Now that women can drive in Saudi Arabia, you just wonder why they don't get in a car and keep going.
Yeah.
That is a very good point.
That is a good point.
So I feel like I would.
Yeah.
Just run out of the country and just stop when the car runs out of gas.
There you go. I wonder if there'd be any problems at the border,
You got a car, run right through the border.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you guys hear that Ontario has launched a snitch site to weed out teachers defying the sex ed curriculum?
At first I thought that was the Onion.
So did I.
Or the Beaverton.
I heard a little tidbit about that too.
Yeah.
It's called fortheparents.ca. This is, of course, we've talked about this, how the Conservative government that went into Ontario has decided that, no, gender identity and cyberbullying were not things that actually existed. So they decided to, no, let's go back to a program of sex ed from the 90s. Because they love to make Canada great again, I guess. And the teachers basically stood up and said, no, we're not going to do this. We're going to teach you curriculum, fine, but we're going to add to it because these things are actually true and they exist and the kids need to know. Well, now Ontario decided to launch a site so parents can actually go and complain and then the teachers can face some repercussions.
That's unreal.
Now-
Do you think it's like Culture Guard is actually going to get on there?
Oh,
and
I bet you they
complain?
will. Oh, I bet you they will.
Or regular parents are actually going to be snitches?
Well, the regular parents, yes, but the religious ones especially,
Yeah, I guess.
yeah, they're going to be the snitches.
Now, I have a question here.
Yes.
Are they just going to snitch about this particular program and this particular part of the curriculum? Because I can see
a good question.
somebody, because there's teachers out there that for other parts of the curriculum pushing their opinions. Like I can imagine teachers pushing their opinions, and I can see how this could turn around on them as well.
That is interesting. I don't know. I hadn't thought about that. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, the Registered Nurses Association of Ontario came out and said that the lack of information in the sex ed curriculum, which of course lacks talk about consent and proper naming of body parts, will leave students ill-prepared. Yeah, of course.
Well, is there any way to countermand this whole sex ed thing that Ford put in? I mean, can anyone, not anyone, but can the legislature or anyone reverse that decision?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I mean, if the other opposition parties band together and try to talk to, but I think he's got a majority right now, doesn't he?
Well, if he
And
gets
the,
away with this, one has to wonder, looking at, that country that's directly south of
Yeah.
us that shall remain nameless, whether, because whether the dictator of that country can get away with it, and we're supposedly a democracy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's absolutely playing from Trump's book, obviously.
Yeah.
And it just makes him look extremely foolish. I mean, in my mind, part of me wants to say, yeah, you keep doing these kind of stupid things because it might have worked in the States because there's a lot of religious denominations. Canada is not as religious of a
No.
country, and you're just looking more and more foolish. So I'm hoping that's what's going to happen here. Okay, well, we're a bit far from the holidays, but, if you guys are looking for a gift, why not buy the most expensive substance on Earth?
Which is?
Antimatter.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
At a cost of $62.5 trillion per gram.
Is that with or without tax?
Probably without.
Oh, okay.
So what the scientists do is they concentrate energy into a small space to create antimatter, and then they separate it magnetically. And then it's kept in a vacuum, because as soon as you have matter touching antimatter,
Poof.
Yeah, you got an explosion, it cancels itself. They say if you drop a raisin-sized antimatter piece anywhere, it would equal Hiroshima and Nagasaki combined.
That answers my next question. I was going to ask how big the boom was.
The boom is big.
Yeah.
It's a big boom. So for the holidays, guys, think about it. She deserves antimatter.
So being totally ignorant about these things, is there a collection of antimatter any place?
No, I don't think there is at this point. I mean, as soon as they, because the problem is containing antimatter, right? If it touches matter,
Yeah.
So managing to create antimatter, they can manage to do it, but to keep it in a vacuum in a specific area, that is the problem. So until they can come up with a concept that can actually do that on a semi-permanent basis, as soon as they create antimatter, it kind of disappears right away.
So even if you had enough money to buy it, how would you mail it to yourself?
You'd have to give it to her right away.
I mean, I don't think UPS would be really
No.
thrilled. No, they're not prepared.
UPS truck blows up at the bottom.
Yeah.
Come on, honey, we're going on a trip.
In international news, there is a fatwa in Indonesia against the measles vaccine
Oh, God.
because it contains traces of pork. That would be good for another brilliant moment, actually. The Indonesia Ulama Council, which is chaired by Ma'ruf Amin, he's a running mate for the president, Yoko Widodo. Indonesia has been highly influenced by fatwas by this council. Of course, it's a highly Muslim country, and even the fatwas have actually been used in court. And now, as soon as the council pronounced himself like that, there's been a drop in vaccination. So, another brilliant moment for sure.
Yeah, I wonder. Of course, that brings up the question: what can you substitute the pork? for.
Well, which part of the
know,
pork is in there, and what is
Well,
it?
I mean, is there something else that is like a cow vaccine? Or
I don't know. I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar enough with the ingredients to say what it could be replaced
But
with. Hopefully, they can find.
It sounds as though that can be overcome, but
Sounds like somebody needs to find a loophole.
Well, part of me wants to say, you know what? If you're stupid enough to do that, you know what? Just go ahead and die. I hate to say it, but you got to be that dumb. Darwin Award.
Did you hear about the it was measles it was at a pool, a public pool. I forget where it was though.
Really?
Yeah, it was recent too.
I didn't hear about this. No, sorry.
It was Christina would know. It was somebody, I'm assuming that they didn't know that they had the measles and obviously weren't vaccinated against it or anything. They went to a public pool and there was a bit of a breakout there from what I understand.
Oh. Last week you spoke about the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, dying.
Yeah.
Well, did you guys hear that when the Fox News decided to put up a tribute to Aretha Franklin, but they put up a photo of Patti LaBelle instead.
Oh,
wow. That makes them so credible, doesn't it?
That's what happens when you have a group of white guys running a network.
Seems that Fox News can't tell their black women apart, apparently.
Yeah.
They all look the same.
Put any picture of a black woman up there will do, right?
Once you've seen one black singer, you've seen them all.
That's right,
It's just unbelievable.
Oh, my God. White people watch Fox News.
No, it's not unbelievable. It's Fox News.
It's Fox News.
It's very
exactly.
believable.
And more local stuff. Last week we talked about Maxime Bernier threatening to quit the Conservatives. Well, he did. Yeah. He did, and now he's thinking about starting his own party. And I couldn't be happier.
You think he's going to do it?
I hope he does it, because if he does, he's going to split the right. And I hope he does, because God damn it, like I've been saying this you've heard me say this for a long time. In rough numbers, about 2/3 of Canadians are progressive, liberals, call them what you want, and 1/4, 1/3 are conservatives. And the only reason conservative governments go in is because they all come out to vote, and the left is apathetic. If they split the right, there's no way in hell a conservative government is going to go in at all.
Well, how do you see? I haven't read anything specifically. I just saw the headline. What direction do you think that party is going to take?
Well, he's going to go. He's going to
go.
So far, I think he seems to be going extreme right.
Extreme right.
Extreme right. Because he thinks Andrew Scheer and the Conservatives aren't conservative enough.
Oh.
So this is exactly what happened in Alberta, right? When they had the Wild Rose Party, and then they had the Conservatives. The Wild Rose Party was more extreme right. Boom, the NDP got in.
So it's happy days for the Liberals.
I'm going to be watching that, for sure. I mean, if he actually does it, it's going to be very hard for him to bring out enough candidates of quality for the next election that's happening next year.
Might be good for the Greens.
I think you just guaranteed Justin Trudeau another term. That's for sure.
Yeah.
If he does it, so it's going to be very interesting to watch. And speaking of conservative, did you hear that John McCain died?
Oh, well, of course.
Senator John McCain in the States, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, you can have a lot of issues with John McCain's philosophy and being Republican and letting the progressives down every now and then. But there's just no doubt that the man had integrity and did things because he really felt as though he was representing the best interests of the country.
I rarely agreed with the guy.
Yeah, I didn't.
But I have to admit, he was a patriotic man.
He was, and all the news reports are stressing the fact that he was bipartisan, which is true.
I think it's true.
On occasion, he really did, and he was civil.
Yeah,
he was civil.
And I think he was the type of Republican that is sorely missed in the States because some people. Of course, there's a lot of things we didn't agree on the Republican side, but he had some, like you said, he had some integrity. I remember in particular that one incident where he was asked by a partisan at one of his rallies about Obama being a Muslim, and he stood up and he says, "No, he's not a Muslim. Stop being stupid here. He's not a Muslim. He's an American citizen." Blah blah blah. I mean, he stood up for his opponent.
He did,
and this is something that is sorely lacking right now in conservative policy in the States.
I mean, it's hard to believe that up until about 20 years ago or so, somewhere in through there, when Newt Gingrich became Speaker of the House, up until that time, there was that not always, but there was the degree of civility where you had Republicans and Democrats crossing the aisle to try and pass bills that were good for the majority of the American people. And I think McCain really was the last of his breed until the Republican Party crashes and burns and has to rebuild.
Yeah.
So it is. It's sad. On a number of different levels.
Didn't agree with the guy on most of, not everything,
didn't.
But nonetheless, I think he does
The way
a
he
bit
conducted himself.
Yeah.
In Congress.
And his story is absolutely fantastic too. Being a prisoner of war and being tortured and being offered to be let go, but he says to his captors, "I'm not leaving unless the rest of my compatriots leave with me," and they say no, and he stayed another prisoner again for another 5 years, being tortured on a regular basis. It's like, wow.
The interesting thing,
that's ballsy.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that one of his last requests is that Obama and Bush speak at his funeral. Guess who's not in that?
Guess who's not there? Yeah.
Guess who's not there? And it was just a matter of his integrity. Even though he honored the office, he just couldn't abide the fact that man would stand up and say insincere things.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I totally understand that.
Yeah. So.
And last but certainly not least, as if he wasn't cool enough, do you guys hear that? Batman's an atheist.
Yes, I did.
As if he's not cool enough as it is, right?
Yeah.
It's canon now.
It's canon now, yeah. Apparently, in one of the comics, he's left at the altar he's about to marry Catwoman, and he's left at the altar, and then he goes on as Bruce Wayne to do a lot of jury duty, where he admits that he's an atheist. Which is an interesting thing, because in the DC world, he kind of deals with gods on a regular basis, He faces them, he has fights against them or with them. So it's interesting to see that. But, hey, Batman, smartest man in the comic book world, is an atheist.
Has there been any pushback? Has there been any negative?
Not yet, but
I'd like to see them try. How long has Batman been around?
Yeah.
Realistically, I'd like to see them try.
So it's gonna be an interesting thing to see.
That's good. Welcome to the group. Batman.
Exactly.
Yes.
Glad to have you.
Who doesn't love Batman anyway?
And
Come on.
just to hop in here, going back to the measles story, I looked it up. It was actually a New Westminster.
Oh, really?
And it wasn't a breakout, but there was somebody that went to the pool. It was last Sunday, actually, and
with the
people
measles.
Yeah, with the measles.
And they knew.
I don't know if they knew, because oftentimes you'll be what's the word?
Asymptomatic.
Something like that before you actually show the measles. And people that went to the pool at the same time on the same day were exposed to it. So there wasn't an outbreak, but they were exposed to it.
Huh. Well, vaccinate, people. Vaccinate. Jeez.
Yeah.
All right, my dear Nancy. It's time for top 10.
Oh, absolutely. This is a fun one and an important one at the same time. Because even generally we have a conversation or we mention something having to do with gender equality on all of our shows. It's just kind of a running theme of ours to acknowledge, good gender identity by organizations or progress. So this is a list. Actually, there are 12, so I think we can cover all 12. But these are 12 things other countries have done to promote gender equity.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Now this is a U.S.-based article, but that's okay. Canada is mentioned, and you'll be surprised as to how exactly we're mentioned, but we are. So
cool.
In America today, just to review beforehand, a woman makes on average 80 cents to a man's dollar. A black woman makes 62 cents to a white man's dollar.
God.
Federal law prohibits discrimination in places of public accommodation based on race, religion, and other categories, but not on sex, including sexual orientation or transgender status. And there are still police departments in the U.S. that don't make clear in policies or training materials that on-duty sexual misconduct against civilians is prohibited. 6 of the U.S. nation's governors are women, 5 are white, no transgender or lesbian so far. 81% of women report having been subject to sexual harassment. More than a third have experienced intimate partner violence.
Wow.
Companies that provide paid family leave are still less than 40%, often offering significantly less leave than men, reinforcing the notion that raising children is still a woman's responsibility. And I'm mentioning this because this has to do with some of the things that we're going to mention. So here we go. This is not a top 10 where there's one that's above the other. So I'm just going to take them in order.
Sure.
Okay, Argentina has a law that's adopted in 2012 that allows for legal gender recognition based solely on an individual's self-determination and makes sex change surgery a legal right covered by public and private insurance.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you, Argentina.
Yeah.
Number 2, Germany's Wage Transparency Act. In 2018, so very recently, a German law allows workers at companies with more than 200 employees to find out the median remuneration of a colleague of the opposite sex in the same or comparable role, and then the median remuneration is based on that of at least 6 opposite sex colleagues. So they actually have, you know what the guy is making who's sitting next to you in the same job, who might be a man. So then they base the make sure everything's equal.
I gotta ask this real quick, a little left turn there. It seems apparently, I don't know if you guys feel that way, but in the States, apparently it's very taboo to ask a person how much they're making, how much their salary is.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel that here? I mean,
I would say, yeah.
You think it's taboo here too?
I would say a little bit, yeah, depending on what industry you're in.
Really? Yeah. I never thought of it as being taboo.
I don't think it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'll often ask somebody, says, "You mind me asking how much you're making an hour?" or so, whatever, and most people don't really have a problem saying, but apparently it's a taboo thing in the States.
It is.
I feel like it's not so much a taboo thing, like with like the person talking about it. I feel like it's more so within an industry or like within a company.
Interesting.
Yeah, there are some that are transparent. For instance, I taught for many years, and teacher salaries were always published.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you go like, why are you being so like, don't share what you're making?
I think it's an easy way to realize that, this guy's making more than me, maybe I should complain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting. Believe it or not, on this list is Rwanda.
What?
Yeah, Rwanda Constitution, which was adopted in 2003, mandates that 30% of parliamentary seats be reserved for women. Today, 61.3% of the lower chamber and 38.5% of the upper chamber seats of the Rwandan parliament are held by women, the highest representation of women parliamentarians in the world. Wow. Who would have thought? Because usually Rwanda is down at the bottom.
Yeah, exactly.
Of corruption and things like that. But for some, they do feel that the sexes are equal in terms of government.
Maybe there is a strong matriarchal society basis in Rwanda.
Yeah, could be. I found that
It'd be an interesting thing to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another surprise. This list is full of surprises. Pakistan has a Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act.
Get out of here.
No,
Pakistan?
I know. Listen to this. Pakistan's new law, as of this year, prohibits discrimination against transgender people in schools, at work, on public modes of transit, and while receiving medical care. It also allows people to choose their gender and to have that identity recognized on official documents, including national IDs, passports, and driver's licenses.
You're telling me that Pakistan is more advanced than the United States in that matter?
I am telling you that according to this article, that's the truth.
Wow.
It's funny when you...
I mean, according to Giuliani, truth is,
truth isn't truth.
Truth is truth, but I tend to believe this truth.
Damn.
I know, isn't that? And this, by the way, this article is from the ACLU. So I do tend to say, okay, I'll believe it.
There is hope for this world after all.
There is.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's one that's not so surprising, but it's good to see. Iceland has
of
an
course.
equal pay law. Gender-based discrimination has been illegal in Iceland since 1961, but they had a wage gap. But in this year, it's surprising how many laws have been passed this year. It requires companies to demonstrate that their wages are fair, so that by 2022, any public or private body in Iceland reporting more than 25 people that hasn't been independently certified as paying equal wages for work of equal value will face daily fines.
Damn.
Daily
Yikes.
fines. It's not only a slap on the wrist. Okay, closely followed by Sweden's parental leave.
Of course.
Sweden provides, get this, 480 days of paid parental leave to be used before a child is 8, which makes sense. Two-parent households get the full benefit only if each parent takes 90 non-transferable days off in an effort to ensure that no one parent or gender is seen as the sole caregiver. So there are some equality things you have to
So it's equaling like it's taking the importance of both the mother and the father,
yeah.
It's
or
not always-
both parents.
It's not always
in-
mommy
Right.
taking a day off for junior. Their dad
Yeah.
does it.
And it seems like it's also not forcing her to have to go choose between the leave and going back to work too soon,
Yeah, exactly.
which I feel like is a big problem.
Yeah, and it does acknowledge that the father has a primary responsible role along with the mother, which is, I mean, this is Sweden. You know, I'm not surprised, but it's so good to see.
I wonder
it.
how, although it's really well intentioned, but let's say, for example, that they work in different places, him and her, and he makes twice as much as she does. His days off, is he inclined to take less days off because they make more money with him?
It is paid leave, is it not?
Paid.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's paid leave. Oh,
It's paid.
forget
It's
that.
not unpaid.
480 days of paid.
Forget it.
They get paid for that shit.
I'll go back to sleep here.
Okay, so now we'll get to Norway.
Of course.
Since 2008, Norway has required that women make up 40% of publicly listed company boards. Companies that fail to comply, listen to this, risk dissolution. Not only a fine, but if they don't maintain that, they're out of there.
Wow.
Like they can.
This is pretty
Wow.
strong stuff.
That's socialism. The
There-
government interfering in this.
Thank goodness
affairs
it's
of
democratic socialism, and may it thrive. Okay, number 8, which is it's not ranked, it's just the number 8 that we're speaking about. New Zealand has a sex work decriminalization. New Zealand decriminalized sex work in 2003 with the Prostitution Reform Act, which protects sex workers' rights through employment
Yeah.
and human rights legislation.
That's my old job.
Wow. Wow. Number 9, the United Kingdom's National Health Service covers abortion and treatment for gender dysphoria. I don't think we cover abortion, but we don't gender dysphoria yet. Okay, that's 9. Okay, so here's 10, and here's where Canada comes in, and I just have to laugh. It's important, but I just have to laugh. In 2016, Canada eliminated its 5% tax on tampons and other menstrual products. This is how we made the list. I know. With all the...
To all of you U.S. listeners, you want cheap tampons? Get to Canada.
Yeah, but even without that, they're still not cheap.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, I'll take your word for it.
They're still... But you save, what, 13 or 14 cents tax?
We go to Costco.
Yeah, but it's... That's right. You know, but it's a good thing because for a long time, women complained that this has to do with our health, and
Well, yeah.
so it should be non-taxable. It's not like it's an accessory; it's a necessity.
Well, yeah.
you know, having to do with our body. So, but with all the other things that we still lag behind. I mean, we're really good on a lot of things, but
Yeah.
but it's progress.
It's progress.
But all the things that made that list, it was that.
It was fun.
You think vampires use tampons for tea time?
But But in the end, you still have to pay for them.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Okay, two more. This is interesting. Morocco's law on domestic workers. In 2016, Morocco passed a law that requires proper labor contracts for domestic workers that limits their daily working hours, guarantees days off and paid vacations, and sets a minimum wage. It also provides financial penalties for employers who violate these provisions and even prison sentences for repeat offenders.
Yikes.
So, yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
I mean, for years, this has been you pay the domestic worker whatever rate she wants, and then she is an independent contractor, and so she or he is responsible. I think they're becoming more laws like this, but they're
less servant slave like. So like.
Yeah. Okay, last one. Around the world, women leaders. In more than 20 countries, women have served as president or prime minister. The countries include Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Germany, Iceland, India, Ireland, Israel, Libya, Norway, Pakistan, the Philippines, South Korea, and the UK. The first woman to become head of state was Sirimavo, I'm going to just murder this lady's last name, Bandaraniki, who served as Prime Minister of Ceylon and Sri Lanka beginning in 1960.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and later this week, the ACLU in the States will unveil a plan that calls for the ongoing problems of discrimination in the United States and pledges the commitment from ACLU to achieving progress in each area over the next 12 months. To make progress, the U.S. needs people to write in and to say, yes, we back you, and they want to know what policies they think would advance gender justice in the United States. So I don't know whether or not there's anything similar in Canada that's devoted to what areas do you think are the important ones to pursue. That's a tough question.
That is a tough question. That's a good question,
tough question. Yeah, I mean, is it pay equalization? Is it gender identity, transgender?
Well, they're all important.
Every one is important.
But if you're going to prioritize one, which one would you put up top of the list, right?
What would you put? I'm totally unprepared to answer.
So am I. I think equal pay has to be, it's ridiculous that although you don't see it so much in a smaller sector like the blue collar sector, for example, if I had to work at the same place as Kirsten is, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be making more money than her. But you do see it on some higher levels, white collar, places, and I think that really needs to stop at that point. It's ridiculous to think that, and there's still an old boys mentality that a lot of men, for example, will discriminate hiring women because of the possibility that she will fall pregnant at some point, and say, it's a hassle. She's pregnant. Yeah. She's gone for, maternity leave. She's gone for a year or something like that. I got to find somebody else. That is actually, I hear that a lot in a lot of male-oriented places to say, why the hell would I hire a woman when I hire a guy I know full well he's not going to leave for a year because he's pregnant. And it's a shame that people still think like that. Yeah.
Well, and true. Also, there are a lot of jobs where accommodations could be made for women in terms of doing work at home. There are different ways that would be open, but it's always surprising that some guy just doesn't realize for some reason that if it wasn't for pregnancy, he wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Does it ever occur to them? But there are ways to do it if there's a will to do it. But I guess workplace issues would be at the top of the list rather than, because we do have paid leave, we do have abortion, we do, gender equality is slowly, but maybe the workplace would be the workplace issues.
Well, we do spend almost a third of our life in the workplace, so it's a big
some of us more.
Yeah.
But I don't even know whether or not the feds or provincially there are any committees that are dedicated to the progress of equality, equality for women.
It'd be something to look into.
Yeah, we're gonna have to look into it.
Yeah, and something that always bothered me is even when I was in elementary school, they'd come in and they'd need can we get a couple of strong boys to help move this? I'm like, really? Really? You're talking to people that are in a little country school that a bunch of us live on farms and stuff, and you're saying a couple of strong boys?
Yeah, I get that.
It's like,
I get that.
I may not want to do it, but I am fully capable of doing it. Let's go for a couple of strong people, okay?
Yeah, no, I went to a job interview at one point in my terribly long career, and one of the things that disqualified me was that I wasn't able to lift or move the piece of equipment that I would be selling, which was so stupid because it's like I can't bring anybody in to do that at my own, or they can't make accommodations. But that I think was definitely discrimination, that I couldn't lift the equipment.
It's interesting. See, you bring an interesting point, Kirsten, because for example, I brought this up before, but I'll bring it again. You guys know that I'm usually in the gym at some point. You'll find me there for sure if you don't find me here, and I find myself sometimes, because sometimes you're going to lift something really, really heavy and you want a spotter. You want somebody to watch over you in case
Absolutely.
you drop it, right?
It's a smart thing to do.
I find myself, asking guys, because if I'm asking a woman, then first of all, I'm afraid that she might think I'm trying to come on to her. And two, I'm also afraid that she might think that I'm actually mocking her. Because some of the weights I lift are pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And, you get this nice girl in the gym, and she's strong for a woman. I'm not doubting that at all in any point, shape, or form, but she cannot lift what I'm lifting.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I find myself having to ask the guys, but kind of feling bad about it, right?
Kind of that little touchy, like, middle ground.
It's that
that's
middle
like,
ground. It's like, what do I do here? What do I do? Do I just ask the guys? But then I think of what you just said, well, why not give the girls a chance? But if I give the girls a chance, are they going to think I'm coming on to them? Or it's really one of those gray zones, right?
Yeah, I know. I would say in that situation, if you wanted to, just go up and be like, hey, I was wondering, I need a spotter. Just being very open and honest. I would say, like, open and honesty is, like, the best policy there.
Yeah.
And if she starts, sorry to cut you off there, Nancy, but if you find that she's kind of going like you're coming on to me, then do you really want that person helping you out?
No, I just want somebody to make sure I don't get crushed under the tonnage.
Well, then I may be overthinking this, but I wonder whether or not somewhere in the women's locker room or wherever, the gym, I don't, but you put up a request form that says, occasionally I may need some help, et cetera, and I don't know whether or not you might be willing, but I'd like either guys or gals, and if you're a woman and would be willing to help, let me know, and then I just don't know. It's just I may be overthinking it. But.
Yeah, because if it was a more formal setting, I can understand that. But I mean, you can have some days that let's say for example you're on a bench press and you have one of those days that you're not feeling really 100%, and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to lift heavy here, but I'm kind of concerned that I might run out of energy. It's a spur of the moment thing, right?
Oh yeah.
This is when you look at somebody passing, hey, bro, give me a spot, and that is usually the thing, right? So instead of saying, hey bro, hey sis, you might give me a spot, I find myself sometimes having to avoid that, I mean,
okay,
unless
Kevin,
she's the only one in the gym.
All right, give me a call. I'll come in. This whole thing is that you're reluctant to ask me, but okay, I'll come.
Well,
yeah.
I'm kind of afraid of you
Kirsten
now.
and I, if Kirsten can't make it.
I'm kind of afraid of you now after the anonymous attacker.
But it is. I mean, I think that may be something that you're just voicing it, and I wonder how many other guys, are in the same predicament.
Exactly.
And I know sometimes if I ask for help at work here, and sometimes it seems a little bit like, oh, because I'm a woman. It's like, no, because my arms are two different lengths and I can't grab it with one side. That makes things difficult.
Yeah. You get that on top. All right, let's do another brilliant moment.
Yes, let's. Guys, a Dutch court rules Pastafarianism isn't a real religion.
What?
I know.
If that's the case, why are planets shaped like meatballs?
I
Why
know.
is DNA strand shaped like fusilli?
That's right.
That's right.
You got it.
Mianka de Wild, a law student from the Netherlands, wanted to wear a colander on her head when she took her driver's license photo. She wouldn't be the first Pastafarian to do it. Hell, in New Zealand, Minestrones can even perform weddings now.
Minestrones.
But the government said no. Even though religious people are allowed to wear the appropriate head coverings of their faith for ID pictures, the mayor of Nijmegen told DeWild that Pastafarianism was not a real religion, it was just satirical. She disagreed, she sued, and now a Dutch court has ruled against her.
Oh, they all need sensitivity
I
training.
know. The Administrative Jurisdiction Division of the Dutch Council of State said her faith wasn't a serious one, so the religious exemption didn't apply to her. The Jurisdiction Division recognizes the considerable significance of being able to freely express satirical criticism of religious dogmas, institutions, and religions. Such criticism itself, however, even if it also relates to religion, cannot yet be considered a religion itself, which is covered by the fundamental rights as mentioned above. Pastafarianism cannot be considered as a religion or belief. In particular, there is a lack of the required seriousness and cohesion.
Well, what if it's part of your religion to not be serious?
That's true.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
The judges gave an example of how not serious it is in the greatest thing I've ever seen in a judicial ruling. The lack of cohesion is illustrated by the relationship set out in creator Bobby Henderson's letter between the decline in the number of pirates since 1800 and global warming.
It's true. The decline of pirates is proportional. It's climate
That's why we have global warming, is because we don't have any pirates anymore. We don't have a good proper
That's been
pirate.
a suspicion of mine for years. I mean, and this poor woman, now she's got this dress Pastafarian strainer that she would have worn, especially for those kind of, occasions.
Yes, of course.
Formal occasions like getting her driver's license, and now she's been denied.
Yeah.
By the court.
By the court, no. I mean, consolation prize, she's doing this in the Netherlands. So, I mean, it's not like it's a country that's overly... It's not like the United States, right? The United States would be actually a bit more serious of a thing. Over there, the Netherlands, yes, okay. You might have to actually agree with the court and say, it's a bit satirical.
That's kind of a fun one. I like.
That was a fun one. I'm like, that's just too good. All right. After 4 years of dating, Claire Dalton was thrilled to be engaged to her best friend and man of her dreams. She had the ring on her finger for 6 months, until a week before the wedding, when the worst thing ever happened. She looked at her fiancé's phone and saw something shocking.
Uh-oh.
Can anybody guess what it was?
He called a Catholic priest.
He's kissing another guy.
He had been watching porn.
Oh no! Oh my god!
She couldn't believe it.
Shoot me now!
3 words on his search bar that changed my entire view. 3 words that concluded he'd been searching for pornography possibly just hours ago. My entire demeanor must have changed in the brief second when I read those words, because he asked me what was wrong. I asked why those words were typed into his search bar, and I looked at him with pleading eyes, hoping there was some logical explanation. I exited
He's preparing for his wedding night. That's what he's doing.
I exited out of that window on his phone, only to find multiple windows open and of sick and twisted ideas of what women supposedly look like. I felt sick to my stomach.
Oh, God. He's a prude.
Oh,
man.
The fiancé made up some lie about how it must have been his brother before he called her up later that night to tell her, "It's me. I have a problem." The phone fell out of my hands and hung up before I had a chance to say much more. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to kick and punch the wall.
Drama, drama, drama!
But in that moment, I felt paralyzed. I had a sudden frightening sensation of someone grasping at my neck as if someone or something was attempting to suffocate me to my death.
She likes to be choked, huh?
it's a good thing she's not overly dramatic about all of this.
It's a good thing.
This goes on for a while. Dalton goes on and on about how her life is ruined for the dumbest possible reason. Needless to say, she called the wedding off, which she later said involved calling every single one of the 300 guests and telling them why she couldn't marry him.
Oh my God, did he ever dodge a bullet? I would congratulate that guy. You dodged a bullet there, buddy.
In short, the 21-year-old Mormon, a presumed virgin who's saving herself for
There
marriage,
we go.
had her life shattered
Mormon. There
by a man
we
who
go.
dared to fantasize the same way pretty much every other guy does. This story was first posted on Dalton's blog a month ago under the melodramatic title, Understanding Betrayal Trauma. And since then, she's gotten exactly the reaction you'd expect. Everyone is telling her she's crazy to flip out over a guy watching porn. As one commenter said, he saw porn, she canceled their wedding. One of those is a massive overreaction. Hint, not his.
I think, first of all, if I was to talk to her, say, you know what? There is a lot of female-friendly porn on there. Maybe you should have a look at that, and you might actually like it too. It might actually give you some ideas for your wedding night.
You know, as overdramatic as it is, I do have a degree of sympathy for this woman, not for what she did, but how her initial reaction was, because in traditional society, maybe not with today's younger generation, but traditionally, porn is viewed totally different by men than by women.
But
men see it as a natural,
21-year-old woman.
a natural expression of sex, and they've got the instrument available, so why not play it? And anything that enhances the experience, that's fine, because no one's being harmed. Nobody was killed during the filming of this.
That's pretty extreme porn.
So,
if somebody was killed.
so that's fine. Women, from at least the last 4 or 5 generations, have been brought up with mothers that say this is a filthy, dirty habit. You don't do it. If men should be ashamed of themselves, and you come with that dichotomy, and it's sometimes you got to either meet in the middle or realize, no, I just don't want to be with somebody that does this, and I understand both sides of it, but it can be a difficult issue, especially when you have occasionally politicians who are caught, and they have to give up their job, and they have to give up their security clearances, and so forth and so on. So it exacerbates the situation.
This guy dodged a bullet big time, because if she's gonna flip over this, I mean, Jesus Christ.
But that's an area where she's uncomfortable.
Or she's raised Mormon. What do you expect?
Yeah, exactly. And she's not alone in all of this. But this happens to be a really funny,
the way that it's written up is just, and the over dramatic.
Yeah, exactly. And calling all 300. My God, the girls couldn't have gotten a 10 minutes sleep.
My favorite part about that was not just calling them, but telling them why it was canceled.
Exactly. I wonder how many.
Hello, Jim. I'm canceling the wedding because you'd never see that he was watching porn. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel bad for her in a way, because
Yeah.
Maybe she needs to. Somebody send her like a vibrator for her birthday or something like that. She needs some release, poor girl.
No, I mean, that's the first question she's going to ask of the new boyfriend. It's not, hi, what's your sign? It's, hi, do you watch porn? Are you a porn subscriber?
Yeah. What's your web browser? What's you looking like?
Yeah, let me check your browser before we go further with
So
it.
that's why you erase your browser every time you come in here for show.
That makes me think of what vibrators were originally invented for. It was to cure the women's hysteria or whatever it's called.
Exactly.
And if you want to hear more on that, go listen to Citation Needed.
Yes. That was
They did an episode on that, and it's fantastic.
It's a good show.
Oh, by the way, this is a commercial, so I have to warn everybody up in front. Those of us in Canada who shop at Superstore, and we like the Great Canadian Superstore.
You have a good vibrator?
And no, this is we're changing the subject slightly.
Okay.
And we all love the swooshy lady. they have lunch boxes now on sale for the kids that say swoosh. And today I'm going to go see if I can buy one.
Oh.
I was there yesterday and I didn't see them.
You didn't see them?
No.
I'm gonna have to do this.
We should go today.
I bought a new lunch bag too.
Well, we should go to Superstore today and see if we can buy them.
No.
I think they're only $10, but I'm not sure. Let's see if
I find it, I'm buying one too.
Oh, okay.
So
well, we're going to go
worth.
buy all of them. Anybody that wants a swooshy, it doesn't say swooshy lady, but it does say swoosh. It has to do with some TV show or
I'm
something.
not familiar with it.
Yeah.
I would know.
So heads up, everybody.
That's fantastic. All right, guys, so let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have a Godless Cranium with us. So stay with us.
Here's an excerpt from Mum, Dad, I'm an Atheist by David G. McAfee.
It is the same highly regarded concept of an afterlife that allows misguided religious people to justify the mistreatment of those who disagree with their religious ideologies. They are simply trying to protect you from eternal damnation in the afterlife by condemning you, insulting you, and even disowning you in this life. It is not to say that becoming open about your disbelief is always going to be met with these negative reactions, and, in fact, that is precisely what this work is hoping to prevent. But it is important to understand that if you experience negative reactions from religious kin, it is probably a result from the religion's teachings, and likely not from any personal vendetta or hatred.
Find this audiobook and many more at atheistaudiobooks.com.
If your skepticism is socially conscious and doesn't take itself too seriously, you might like Life, the Universe, and Everything Else.
Ray Comfort, his big stumper was literally, which came first, the chicken or the egg?
A lot of the interviews took place in front of a building that said liberal arts. I'm guessing that they're not all science majors.
Life, the Universe, and Everything Else. Available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere else. I don't know, Zune? Is that still a thing?
Okay, just think about the Muslims at this moment who are blowing themselves up, convinced that they are agents of God's will. There is absolutely nothing that Dr. Craig can say against their behavior in moral terms, apart from his own faith-based claim that they're praying to the wrong God. If they had the right God, what they were doing would be good on divine command theory. Now, I'm obviously not saying that Dr. Craig or all religious people are psychopaths and psychotics, but this to me is the true horror of religion. Okay, it allows perfectly decent and sane people to believe by the billions what only lunatics could believe on their own. Okay, if you wake up tomorrow morning thinking that saying a few Latin words over your pancakes is going to turn them into the body of Elvis Presley, okay, you have lost your mind. Okay. But if you think more or less the same thing about a cracker and the body of Jesus, you're just a Catholic.
All right, joining us online is a YouTuber that goes by the moniker Godless Cranium. He's a snappy dresser and a snazzy dancer. Mike, thank you so much for joining us at Left of the Valley.
Thanks for inviting me, Kevin.
I caught on to your YouTube channel a while back, and I was hooked instantly. I just love your little avatar, and I love what you do. Maybe you'd be so kind to give our audience a bit of a quick bio, without getting too personal as to what you do and how you started doing this.
Okay. Well, I am a YouTuber, like you just pointed out. Most of my videos are about religion or atheism or secularism. I do have some that aren't, but they're the minority on my channel. I try to keep it to the same kinds of topics, superstition as well. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, fantastic. I gotta ask you, first of all, for anybody who's ever watched it, I highly recommend you guys follow the channel, by the way. It's a great little channel. And I love, especially at the end, I gotta ask you, all these little singing bits that you get at the end of Christians rapping or whatever. Where do you get that? That is pure gold.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a whole file folder of them. So.
Oh my god. He goes online and he'll you a lot of time answer. Somebody will put a video online of, all atheists are this or atheists are that, and he'll answer, and he's quite eloquent the way he answers this, and he debunks it nice and matter-of-factly, and I love his tone, and I love his bit of sarcasm he points in there. I love that, by the way. And then at the end, he usually plays like a incredibly cheesy video of some Christians rapping about Jesus, and it's pure gold. I laugh every time. It's like, oh my god, where does he find this stuff? It's just absolutely amazing. Where did you get the idea for that?
I don't remember, actually. I just kind of I think I just ran across one and I was like, this is funny, it's got to go in the video. And then it just became almost like a trademark. I don't put them in all the videos, obviously, especially serious videos, ones where I'm tackling something that's, just say my video on the indoctrination of Native Americans. I'm not going to be putting a rap video at the end of that, but sometimes, depending on my mood and how long the video is, and if it's a super long video, again, I don't usually put it in there because I don't want to make it too big, the video too long. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it just depends on the circumstances. But yeah, it's almost like a trademark. Every third or fourth video, I'll throw it in there.
Fantastic. I gotta ask you, you've done a wide variety of these videos, and I love them all. They're great things to watch. But are there some topics that you find you grab more to heart, that you think are very, very serious, and more, or some that are maybe lighter and maybe they're just more fun to make fun of, and et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I'm working on one now on the Catholic Church child abuse scandal, so I would take that one seriously. So there's probably not going to be a lot of humor in that one. Mm-hmm. I do take that seriously. I took the one, like I said, the indoctrinating of the Native Americans. I took that one very seriously. But yeah, some of the ones that I did that were historical, I did one on the cargo cults. That one was serious. I read books and stuff about that and compiled that into a video. So
you might want to explain the cargo cults to our audience, because as soon as you say cargo cults, the first thing that comes to my mind is people wearing cargo pants, and I'm pretty sure that's not the case.
No, they're small islands, and in I think it was World War I, ships came out and they had cargo on them, mm-hmm. and so the natives there kind of thought of them as magical, and somehow they created a John From character that some people think might be real, there was a real John, kind of there might be a real Jesus that the myth was built on, and they think that he's going to come back with cargo if they do these certain things, and they'll march around with sticks that are fashioned to look like guns, kind of like American flags or British flags. So yeah, it's a whole thing, and it's really kind of fascinating because it's a lot of it resembles Christianity and mm-hmm. some of the other religions, right? So
it's fascinating to see that, because I think we should almost do a show on that episode by itself, because last year we were talking about how there was this episode where in Indonesia they found this sex doll. They found a sex doll in the swamp, and they started dressing her up, and they started, within a couple of months, there was a couple of legends about this angel falling from the sky and weeping and healing people, and this is 2016, right? It just shows how quickly these things take a life of their own. And if you apply the same kind of logic to a carpenter 2,000 years ago, it's really quick to see how these legends can sprout out of nothing.
Yeah, that's why I found it so fascinating. That's why I made a video about it. It's almost like it's like a snapshot in real, because it's hard to look back at the beginnings of Christianity or Judaism because it was so long ago, right? Mm-hmm. But these things happened within a couple of lifetimes of us, and we have it documented, so we know exactly how they happened.
Exactly.
And it's just
Yeah, it's a great teaching tool for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it is a snapshot in cultures where there isn't a lot of news that comes into them. They're not involved in modern society, I gather, so that it's easy for them to deal in mystical thinking rather than have any scientific evidence, to prove any of the natural things that happen.
Mm-hmm. Actually, in the cargo cult as well, they've merged the two because before John Frum, they used to believe in a volcano god because on the island there's a volcano. Oh. So they've kind of wedded the two together, and there's actually fractures in that religion. So different sects, some that believe more in the John Frum, some that believe more in the volcano, and they argue about their mythology, just like you would find here in Christianity or Islam or something like that, right? So
if anybody doubts that we're hardwired,
exactly.
to believe in these things, in the absence of scientific discovery, there they are, living and breathing.
Yeah.
Or here we are. I can't say they and them because we are hardwired.
Yeah, it just shows that despite all the marvelous technology that we have, we're still the stupid primate that we were.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're hardwired to believe in a deity, but we're definitely hardwired to find patterns.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Yeah, and so like if we don't know something, it's a lot of humans, most humans, I would think, find it better to have an explanation that's a bad explanation than to have no explanation at all. So
yes.
they'll fill that in with supernatural stuff.
I absolutely agree. So how long now have you been doing this little channel, Mike?
I started in January. It's probably a year and a half.
Just a year and a half.
Yeah,
You're a bit like the new kid on the block in many aspects there.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, you've made quite an impact already. You had a lot of guests come on your show, and a lot of guest podcasters and guest YouTubers. So you're having quite an impact out there, obviously.
Yeah, it's nice to see a lot of quite a few of the people that I had on. I don't know, when my channel was about, I think maybe 10,000 subscribers. Mm-hmm. I had some guest videos on, and some of those people that guessed it or whatever their channels have grown to either eclipse mine or get close to it. So that's pretty cool.
Cool. Well, now that you're being on this show, you're probably going to go back down to 10,000 subscribers.
Yeah. Well, I haven't. My channel really grew when I started because I would put out daily videos, and now I don't. And I think lately, in the last couple of months, I've really slowed down on making videos just because of my work schedule. So hopefully in the winter that'll pick back up. But for right now,
it's tough to me these days. I mean, just editing this audio show that I do takes a lot of time. So I can just imagine what you have to do. It's like, wow, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it takes about 4 to 8 hours to make a video, depending on how long it is.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to start your channel?
I used to write a blog by the same name as my channel, and I just felt like I'm the kind of person that kind of gets bored when I know how to do something. So I thought, well, I've never done video editing. I've never done voice recording. It looks pretty cool. It looks fun to do. So I'm going to try it out. Mm-hmm. And so I guess I started that. I started that first with a gaming channel, actually, because I like to game. And then I was like, this isn't what, like, I really enjoyed writing my blog. And because it was more controversial, it was more thinking, like, I guess I had to research things and stuff like that, so that keeps me interested. And I thought, well, you know what, I'll open a second channel and try that, and I did, and it just kind of took off. I didn't expect it to take off at all. but probably the gaming channel helped me kind of like learn how to do some of the things, like learn a little bit of editing, learn how to record myself and stuff like that. So it's a learning experience. But
I gotta quickly ask you something about your avatar on screen there. Sure. I've always felt like the mask your avatar wears has some kind of significance. Is it just an image you picked out, or is there some significance to it?
There's no significance. When I first started my channel, I used a free picture that was copyright free, and it was just of a guy in the shadows, and he was holding his hand out. And I used that for a little while, and then I thought I really want to get an avatar that I can change the expressions, change what he's doing, kind of thing, have him pop in and out. And so I just happened to run across an animator, Marvin Entertainment, I think his name is, or anyways, Marvin. He's on my channel. He's one of the he's the person that made the avatar. And I asked him, I said, hey, can you make me an avatar? And he looked at my channel, and I had like 30 subscribers at the time, and I think he has 1,000 or something, maybe 3,000. And he said, oh man, you only have like 30 subscribers, but okay, I'll make you a free one. And so he made like the first like 4 poses, like the one where he's got his arms crossed was the very first one.
Yes.
And then he said basically he just went and listened to my videos and then said that that's the like mental image that he got of me through my voice and style and stuff like that. So yeah, that's how it happened.
That's pretty nice.
So when you started that channel, did you use any of the other existing podcasts as models or inspirations, or did you have your point of view immediately and felt that there was I hate to use the word, but market? Did you feel that there was an opening, for you with your own point of view?
Well, yeah, I would say that maybe I already had my point of view, and what I was aiming for was I saw a lot of channels that, like a lot of the older atheist channels that weren't doing atheism anymore. So I thought there's a market there because those people have stopped doing that, and the anti-feminist stuff doesn't really. I mean, it interests me on a periphery basis, but not really, enough to fuel a channel or anything. But atheism does, and so does religion. So. There was that. I also wanted the channel to be like the Godless Cranium on that channel isn't a character, like he's actually me. And so I wanted to showcase my actual personality and not just a character that I was just performing or whatever. So it's kind of like a polished version of me. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I probably took inspiration from some of the other atheist YouTubers because I have watched them. So they're probably partially like people like Logic and Armored Skeptic. I've watched some of his videos. Yeah, but I also thought that I also wanted to do it in a different way because I feel like sometimes a lot of the atheist channels get bogged down in making fun of people, like making fun of them or calling them stupid or things like that. And I wanted to go about it a different way. I wanted to make it so that I wasn't making personal attacks, but I was attacking the argument, but still make it kind of funny or kind of humorous, have humorous moments in it. I don't know. I've tried to do that. I think I've gotten better. I think if you watch some of my first videos, they're a lot different than the ones that are made now. So.
Oh, trust me. You listen to some of our first episodes, they are very, very rough. I don't recommend people actually do.
Yeah, one of the biggest mistakes I made when I first started was I would cut out the pauses between sentences and stuff, so it just sounded like I was talking really fast instead of and I kind of talk fast anyway, so I've had to learn how to like slow my speech down when I'm recording my voice, but it was really bad. And then so I would have people say, hey, I really loved your video, I really liked it, but man, you talk really fast. And so I've stopped doing that. But
I have to admit, on this show often we'll have some drops, some music, some sound effects, something like that. They'll drop in the background. A lot of them is usually added in post. And I tried for the longest time to get your laugh. Because I think whenever you start laughing at somebody, and he's got this, it's just hilarious, and I could never actually get it. I was trying to record it, and then of course you would start talking, or there was a sound. I could never really get it. It's like, God damn it! Eventually, I'll get his laugh.
Well, I actually do when I record the laugh for videos. That's actually my real laugh, because I'll watch it and then I'll laugh like when I originally watch it, and then I'll be like. I'll go back and I'll actually be watching the video and laughing at it while I'm doing it, and then I'll just record me laughing because it's just.
I think you get
so it's authentic.
Laugh. I think you get a fantastic.
It's amazing how much technical things you have to that you had no idea when you started.
Yes.
That it would require that much technical knowledge and information, and a lot of it you just pick up because it's trial and error on your own, not because you've got a buddy you can call and say, hey, I'm trying to accomplish this. So you get a lot of kudos and props for being able to accept that kind of a challenge and going over the details over and over until you get it right. It's not easy.
It's actually the details that make it interesting to me, because and I still I'm always learning. Like right now, I'm trying to learn how to use vMix so I can use it on my podcast. But that's one of the most interesting things I like about YouTube, is that there's always something new to learn, always something new people that I can talk to, new stuff to do, and that's what keeps me interested. But yeah, I literally knew nothing about anything. Like, I knew nothing about editing. I knew nothing about computer stuff or whatever.
It's exactly what happened to us too. It's exactly what happened to us too. But you just mentioned there that you also do a podcast.
Yeah, I have a podcast called The Heathen Hour.
Oh, plug it, man. Go right ahead. Be shameless.
Oh, okay. The Heathen Hour podcast. Right now, I have a co-host named Shannon Q, and we broadcast it every Saturday night at 8:30 Eastern. But like last night, we interviewed Dark Matter 2525.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah. But we just opened our own. I wanted to make it its own separate channel.
Mm-hmm.
So we just opened the new channel. I got some channel art done and stuff like that. So we're still broadcasting it from Godless Cranium channel, but eventually, and then I moved it over to the Heathen Hour, or the Heathen Hour channel. But I'm hoping soon that the Heathen Hour will just be its own thing, kind of its own entity.
Do you have a name for that podcast?
It's just,
or did I miss it?
The Heathen Hour is.
Oh, okay. The Heathen Hour.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, the Heathen Hour podcast.
I'm trying to look. Is it on iTunes? I'm trying to look for it right now.
There
it is. Perfect.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it looks like two red H's.
Yeah, you get your avatar there and some lady.
Yep, that's Shannon Q.
Perfect. Subscribe.
Yep.
There you go. I just subscribed
Thank
to your podcast. Now I gotta ask, because serious people have serious enemies, and your videos have certainly made some waves and some people have had a bit of a backlash against you. So want to tell us a bit? Who do you think you think you have a couple of nemesis out there going after you?
Yeah, I definitely do, but nothing too serious. Like, it hasn't been as bad as I thought it was going to be when I first started. I do have obviously people that disagree with me on a regular basis, but I'm fine with those people. Like, I watch any response videos that I get. I try to watch them if I can find them, and my subscribers are pretty good at pointing them out to me if they find them. So I watch them all, and there's a couple of people that I'm not big fans of. That I had one guy to troll my Discord channel and post racist and sexist memes all over it. And he at first was trying to get me to talk to him on my podcast, but I've always said no. So there's a couple of people that I have theists on my podcast all the time, but there's a couple of them that I want nothing to do with. That they'll never get on my podcast. So.
Well, speaking of your podcast, I hope you and your co-host can come back on our show. We could discuss your podcast later on in the year. That'd be great.
Yeah, sure.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we'd love to.
Done.
I'm sure Shannon would do it for sure. She loves going on different streams and stuff.
Exactly. So talk to Shannon, and we'll get back together, and we'll bring you guys back on the show, and we'll continue this lovely discussion. I got to ask you, Mike, how long have you been an atheist yourself?
Oh, I don't know.
Roughly.
It's hard to tell, because at first I was a theist, and then probably, like, I've always had questions, but probably around my teenage years I started to kind of doubt it more. But I always went through a phase where, probably a lot of atheists go through it, where it's you start, you go from being a Christian to maybe an agnostic. You call yourself an agnostic, and then you call yourself, well, I think there might be something spiritual out there, and you kind of go through these grades. So I don't know at what point precisely I was like, hey, I just don't believe any of it anymore.
It stopped making sense in your teenage years at some point.
Yeah, it's just kind of from there into my 20s, probably I was just kind of on a little bit on the fence and exploring the topic more. But so you've been probably mid 20s, I would say. I'd probably.
So you've been really active for the past a bit more than a year with your channel, but you've been in your apostasy for several years before that. If I was to ask you to go back when you first started come out and compare to now, what do you think? Do you think the movement of atheism itself has progressed? Do you think it has regressed? Do you think there are things we should be working on, or what are your opinion in that aspect?
Oh, that's a hard one. I think it came out hard, and then I think everything's kind of like a pendulum, right? Like you see it in politics as well, where something will, say, conservatism just say will wax and wane, right? So at some point it'll be really strong, and then people will go against it because it's been there for too long, it's too strong, and it'll kind of even itself out again, right? And I think the same thing with atheism, or the atheist movement. It came out really strong. It kind of waned. It became a little bit uncool to be an atheist. You got Fedora Shrek and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's coming. I think it's making a comeback. There's a lot of new channels coming out. There's a lot of new apologists as well to tackle, like Jordan Peterson, that are a lot different than the William Lane Craigs of the world. So I think it's doing okay now. I think there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of good smaller channels or new channels that are coming out. I mean, by small, I mean like 20K, 30, 40K channels.
A lot of people in the past have said that, the idea that we have so many small YouTubers, podcasters, and many different channels is actually a bit of a weakness for the movement. They thought if the movement would become probably stronger if we went something more mainstream like television or radio. Or would you agree with that?
No, I think the internet's where the future is, to me. I think a lot of I think the most important thing about atheist videos, and I get emails and stuff and comments on my videos, which always make me feel good. But it's a lot of people that are living in either countries or in households or in communities where they don't have anybody to talk to, and just being able to reach out through YouTube and watch a video, like say watch one of my videos and say, hey, I'm not the only one that thinks this way. It can be an incredible comfort. And I don't think you're going to get that on TV. I don't think parents are going to be letting their kids watch TV and hey, look, there's Godless Cranium on Fox 29 or whatever. I don't see that happening, right? So
let me play devil's advocate here for a second, because I love doing that. I'm just pointing that question because some people have basically voiced that. The thing with YouTube is, yes, you have a lot of great channels like yours, but you also have a lot of crappy channels giving a lot of misinformation. So that kind of balances the equation. True. But if it's something that's actually on national TV, then it's kind of approved by media. It's approved by the populace.
Yeah, and that can be bad too, because I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's on TV that's either not true or I mean, like you can find Ancient Aliens on TV, which is just really bad as well, right? Like it's on the History Channel, so it actually makes it seem more plausible, right? Because if you're a kid. And you're like, hey, it's on the History Channel. It must be true.
Wait a minute. Right? Are you telling me you do not subscribe to the ancient astronaut theory?
No.
Shocker.
So, but I think like all the different ideas, even the bad ideas, can help somebody work through their own atheism, right? Like their own ideas about religion. Like even if it's a bad idea, they'll be like, what does person B think, right? And then they can just work through it on their own.
Fantastic. So what's coming up for you for the Godless Cranium channel? Anything over the horizon coming up that we should be looking forward to?
No.
That's it. Might as well close the channel down right now. You're done. Move to the other podcast.
I like
channel.
This guy. God, I
We're
like
done.
This guy. He's just straightforward shooter. I love him.
Just the Catholic one that I'm working on. We're currently booking more guests for Heathen Hour.
Yes.
Like I said, I think my main focus soon will be pumping up the Heathen Hour and getting it to be its own separate entity. So that's probably where my focus will be. And in the winter, like winter's coming on, I'll get less hours at work. I'll be able to dedicate more time to my channel. So hopefully I'll get more subscribers and my channel will continue to grow.
So if there was a guest that you could get on either your podcast or your channel, I mean, besides the Left of the Valley crew, of course, if there was a guest that you could actually get your hands on, who would it be? He or she?
Oh, jeez. I don't know, actually.
No, I don't think you want Jesus.
No, one of them was Dark Matter. I really wanted to get him on, but we accomplished that. But I don't know. I'm good with a lot of different people. Like I really like I like the interviews that we do, but I think my favorite is when we have two people that have opposing views and they discuss it on the channel live. I think that's like awesome. So like SJ and Richard Carrier are coming on soon.
I love Richard.
Yeah, so that'll be a lot of fun. So I don't know. there's not really anybody that I would be like, hey, that's the guy that I want on my channel, or the lady I want on my channel. But
you say that, obviously you want them all.
yeah, I do. Anybody that's interesting or I think is interesting. I'm hoping to get Logic on soon. I'm gonna invite him soon to come on. So, and maybe even Creationist Cat.
Yeah, you've had so much collaborations with some of these other YouTubers out there. I'm sure they'll have a spot on your podcast at some point too, right? Guys like Professor Stick and all these other guys, Godless Engineer and all that.
Yeah, I've gone on streams with Professor Stick. I did one recently with Heath and Professor Stick. So yeah, we've done that. Some of their schedules are pretty crazy. Like Vice Rhino, for instance, we've tried to get him on, and he's agreed, but his work schedule just doesn't jive with the show. So we're waiting for a time when he's like maybe on holidays or something that we can maybe get him in there.
Yeah, we're supposed to get him in October.
Yeah, hopefully, because he's in the food industry, I think. So
okay,
yeah, so he's got crazy hours, and he usually works evenings. So yeah.
Fair enough. Well, the mic is all yours, Mike. If you want to plug your show, by all means, be shameless. Go right ahead and use us.
Yeah. Yeah, check out my channel, Godless Cranium. It's on YouTube, and Heathen Hour is on YouTube as well. Yeah, check them out, and if you like them, subscribe. That would be great. I can always use more subscribers.
Fantastic. Mike, before I let you go, I gotta have you say, hi, I'm Godless Cranium, or if you want to say, hi, I'm Mike from Godless Cranium, and I took a left at the valley.
Hi, I'm Godless Cranium, and I took a left at the valley.
And that was Godless Cranium.
Oh, what a lovely guy.
I know. Nice guy, isn't he?
Yeah, it's just like he's a guy who had an idea that something would work and it would be interesting and keep him, interested and not be bored.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out successfully. And it's Canadian. What could be better?
What could be better?
Yeah,
exactly.
Could be better.
What could be better? And I was telling him, I love the way he's factual, matter of fact, almost in your face, but he's not arrogant about it. He's not, he's like, no, this is exactly, I just love the way he presents it.
It's the Canadian charm.
Maybe that's it, He's almost one of those guys that could tell you to fuck off, and you would say, thank you, you'd ask for directions how to do so, he's got that kind of charm to him. I love it.
Yeah, it's great that you found him and you introduced him to our listeners and
let's hope he
be
comes
more successful. That's great.
He comes back with his co-host Shannon to talk about his other podcast, so we'll be looking for that for sure. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for being with us at the intensive care unit while I recuperate from a anonymous attack.
I was not involved.
No, but you got to give me back my water.
I have three alibis. I'm not involved. It's fake news.
Fake news. Oh, thank you so much for joining us. So next week we'll be talking to Godless Engineer. We're going for the Godless face apparently. Godless Engineer next week. And after that, later in the month, we'll be talking to Stephen Woolworth from Reality Rules. And we'll be also talking to a couple of ladies from a podcast named Forsaking Faith. And we also have our friend Jessica, the therapist, who agreed to come on the show, and we'll be talking about de-escalation.
Ooh.
Yes, that's going to be interesting.
That sounds like a very interesting and important topic.
Yes, it's one of our listeners that's contacted us via email and found out she's a therapist and she likes to talk about this stuff. So, hey, come on the show. Let's talk about this.
Oh, so wonderful.
I'll have Jessica come on the show. Fantastic. Anything else in the... Oh, yeah. You can follow us at leftatvalley.com. You can follow us on Twitter at LATV Podcast, on Facebook. Send us an email at leftatvalley@outlook.com. Give us a 5-star review. It really helps us and it helps the show and helps others find the show as well. Anything else I need to add?
Harry Potter, have to do it. Christina.
Christina's not here. No, I'm not pushing Harry Potter if she's not here. No, I'm not doing that. No.
Come on, Kevin.
No.
It's fantastic.
I'm in pain and I'm on morphine in the hospital bed, okay? Don't make me push Harry Potter. Thank you so much, ladies. Until next time.
Told and believe in the God assigned by your parents. I'm proud to be an atheist, a skeptic, a non-believer, an infidel, a heathen. I call it how I see it. I say it's ignorance and you just call it faith in unsubstantiated claims. That's something to be ashamed. I'm an atheist. Atheist. I'm an atheist. Atheist. I'm an atheist. I'm an atheist. Now let me take a sec, don't mean to sound so hateful, but I swear to God, pun intended, I keep it on the hush. Don't wanna affect business, he loves money too much. We know that they love the kids, but how the fuck can we protect them while they planning to molest them? We teaching them to respect them.
Fuck that.
The system is broke down, working backwards, and the only action or tactic I plan to practice now is to attack them. The parties of God's hands are bloodstained, millions of murders by believers, and they're all in God's name. And let me take a sec, don't mean to sound so hateful, but I swear to God, pun intended, I find it disgraceful that many atheists are told to be quiet. You're not alone, speak your mind, time to let it be known. I'm proud to be an atheist, a skeptic, a non-believer, an infidel, a heathen. I call it how I see it. I say it's ignorance and you just call it faith, and unsubstantiated claims. That's something to be